is today's training, they can come back and take a look at a later time, or if anybody else has some questions and you want to rewatch this while you're doing your training later on, that's also, it'll be there for you. So, all right. So I'm going to do a quick introduction. My name is Dylan. I am a protocol project manager with the Eureka team. And really one of my main roles is to be to answer any questions that you all might have as you are using the platform. Help you get trained using the platform so that you can enroll participants in Test Us. And if you run into any issues while you are using it with live patients, we have a Slack channel, which I think everybody here has been invited to. If you haven't, make sure you just send me an email with your email address and I'll add you into that channel. And that's where we're going to do most of our day-to-day communications. So if anything, you know, a couple weeks from now when you're enrolling participants, something is not working properly on Eureka, or you accidentally mess something up and you need to fix it, you know, myself and Arjun will be your person to reach out to. So anyway, I will let Arjun just give himself a quick introduction as well.
Guys, good morning. My name is Arjun. I'm a clinical research coordinator with Eureka, so I'll be assisting Dylan with anything, and I'll be answering questions in the chat, so just hit me up there.
All right. And Karen, have you already met the whole OHSU team? If not, you
yes.
can.
Hi, good morning. We've been on several calls for other PBRN activities, so I'm just here to, I won't be on the whole time, but I'm just here to make sure everybody's connected.
All right, great.
Thanks.
And we don't have to go through everybody just for the sake of time, but I do want to ask who will kind of be the lead coordinator for the OHSU team, if there's somebody who's kind of in charge, because we are going to have, you know, kind of a lead responsibility for the OHSU team. So we want to know who the point person should be on that.
Sure.
Well,
Oops, sorry.
yeah, it's myself or Leanne and Leanne. Leanne, do you want to say anything?
Yep, agreed. So Laura is the project manager. I'm the project director.
All right, excellent. And so just to make sure I understand correctly with the OHSU PBRN, all of the members of the team are from OHSU, and what you will be doing is traveling out to these different sites to enroll participants. Oh, Victor just joined. So everybody who is part of the OHSU PBRN can access all of the data from all these different sites, because you're actually just one site that's traveling to physical locations, correct?
Correct.
Awesome, then we are all good to go. Let's just hop into it. So what I'm gonna do here today is show you how to enroll participants. So we're gonna be kind of jumping back between two screens, one being the participant facing view of what the participant will be seeing when they enroll. And then the other is going to be the admin panel, which is how you as a coordinator are going to interact with the Eureka platform and collect data. So we have two ways of enrolling participants. One is through the web, and the other is through a mobile app that the participant can download. So I'm going to show you how to enroll participants in both. They're very similar, but there's a few key differences between the two, just in how the app looks and how the participant will interact with it. So why don't I begin with sharing my screen. Before we get started, actually, does anybody have any questions before we start? No? All right. All right, can everybody see my screen? Should be just a blank Google page right now.
Yes.
Yes.
All right, so the link for the participant to join is testus.heh.tech.io. So that what this is broken down to is the first part is obviously name of the study, and then this hehtech.io means that we are on the Stage platform. And what Stage means is it's our kind of practice platform. So this is how you're going to be doing all of your training, is using this website. Our production or live website is very similar. It's going to be testus.eurekaplatform.org. And that's where we're actually putting in live participant information. So we won't give you access to that until we're actually ready for you to start enrolling participants. But when you're in this hehtech.io, it means you're in Stage. So it means all the information in there is fake data. There's no real PHI or anything like that. You can enter in whatever you want, delete whatever you want. It's not going to affect anybody else. And really the point of this is for you to click around, make sure you understand everything. Don't worry about breaking anything, because that's what the system is there for. So we are at testus.hhtech.io/OHSU is going to be your study key. So every different site has a different study key. And you'll notice when I type that in, it kind of just turns into this question mark RFK gibberish here. You don't need to know what this means. This is just kind of the internal code of what that /OHSU turns into. And then this is the web platform. So this is essentially exactly what the participant's going to see. The only difference is we have this button here. It says get to the CHAPA. This is a way during testing, when we're going through a lot of test subjects, to just skip the enrollment process where the system generates a bunch of fake data. So name, date of birth, address, stuff like that. So you can just save yourself a couple minutes by not having to enter that information in. But you don't really have to worry about that too much. So what we're going to do here is click join the study. And what the participant will see is all of this kind of quick little Q&A about the TESTA study. And as they scroll down here, they will click get started. All right, so we're gonna just put in some fake information here. Dylan, OHSU web. And feel free to jump in at any time to ask any questions you might have.
Dylan, sorry to interrupt. We have a couple good questions in the chat about the difference between stage and production.
Sure. Give me 1 second.
Yeah.
Whenever I'm sharing my screen, I always forget how to access the chat. Give me a second. There we go. All right, so let me just read through these questions real quick. Okay, so the question is testus.eurekaplatform.org the link we should have on iPads for participants to use? Yes, that is what the participants will actually be using. And is that going to be your workflows? You're going to be using iPads for the participants to interact with? Leanne?
We'll have them available in case someone doesn't have a device that they're willing to download onto.
Okay, perfect. So this is a good point to address that if they are using their own phone, either iOS or Android, they can download the app and use the app. if you're using iPads, the app is not optimized for an iPad. So even though you can download it on an iPad, it's not going to work properly. So rather than using the app on the iPad, I would just use the Safari web browser and just log in like it was a laptop. So great question there. Okay. And then Laura, you asked the password, is that generated or from the study? Can you clarify what you mean there?
Yeah, is the user just making up the password, or is it something that we're giving them?
Nope, they will make that up, all that information. So their email address, their own password, it can be
Okay,
completely unique to them. We don't need to know that. We'll never have to use that information to log in or anything. So
thanks.
all right, so after putting in that basic information, gets brought to add your cell phone. So they could just click, I don't have a cell phone, and they can bypass this, but if they do want to enter in a cell phone, they can do it here. One thing that's important to note is that we do use a text back verification. So any phone number that they put in here, A, it needs to be able to receive text messages, and B, they need to have it with them at the time of enrollment, because it won't let you proceed until you verify the phone number. So if they put in their real phone number, but it's at home or in their car, they're not going to be able to go any further. So if they're enrolling on web, they don't need to put the cell phone number, and they can just bypass. But if they want to put it in, they definitely can, but just make sure it's real and they have the number there with them. All right, we're just going to say I don't have a cell phone. And then that brings us right into the eligibility survey. So they can do English or Spanish. Right now we have most things are compatible with Spanish. We have the translations. There's a few things, mostly like interstitial pages that don't really have any important information, that are not translated in Spanish yet. And we also have a couple of our important like vaccination questions that just haven't been translated to Spanish yet. We just added them to the study yesterday. And so hopefully we'll have the Spanish translation soon, but just something to be aware of if you're dealing with any Spanish speaking participants. It's good to have a translator just in case. But we are going to pick English. If requests, are you willing to come into a testing center? We're going to say yes. Are you willing to answer short survey questions about your health background? We are going to say yes. And click submit. For that eligibility survey, they need to click yes to both of those questions. If they put no or I don't know for either, they're going to be deemed ineligible and not be able to participate in the study. All right, any questions so far? All right, so we're going to say get started. And next up is the DocuSign for the master consent. DocuSign moves a little bit slowly, so just be aware that this is going to load a little slower than what we're used to. So continue to document. And they're going to have to click this button to agree to use electronic records and signatures. Click continue. And then they're going to read through the consent very carefully. Get all the way down to the bottom where it is just a checkbox signature. So just click there, click finish. And they will be consented. So one thing that is going to become more apparent soon is that there are two different consents that the participant will need to sign in order to join the study. So the first, what we refer to as the master consent, is what we just did, and that's consenting just to be part of the TESTA study and to answer some baseline questionnaires. Later on in the workflow, we're going to sign the device-specific consent, and that's actually the consent to participating in that device study. So right now we're doing the 2322 study. So that consent is going to come in later, and that needs to be done before any samples are collected. As long as you're following the proper workflow, all of that will happen normally. So before I jump into these baseline surveys, I want to share my mobile screen with you, and I should have got this ready before the call, but I totally forgot. Give me 1 second. Any questions while I'm setting this up? Right. All right, everybody can see the screen here.
Yep.
So I am not able to actually show you what I'm clicking with my finger, so I'm going to just follow along with my mouse here. So this is the Stage Eureka app. It is slightly different than the actual production app, and you'll have to download it completely separately. The way to do that, and we'll send all this information out later, so don't worry, but you'll have to send Social, who's another member of the Eureka team, your Apple ID or your Google Play ID, the email that you use for those, and then she will email you a link for you to download what's called Test Flight, and in Test Flight is where you get this test app. So anyway, let's just go through it. So we're going to click on enter a study key. And here, this is pretty much the exact same thing as a study key, that /OHSU that we used for the URL. We're just going to put in OHSU, click on search. And here we are, the COVID-19 test us. We're going to click on learn more. And we're going to sign up. And we're going to type in Dylan mobile OHSU, hit next. I'm going to put in a fake birth date, hit next. Email is dylan.low010 plus 105. And you'll notice I'm putting this kind of weird email address in. So what this is, dylan.low010 is actually one of my real email addresses. And a little hack you can do is put in that dylan.low010 and then the plus sign and then any random number at gmail.com. And that treats it like it's a unique email address, although any email sent to dylan.low010 plus 105 actually goes to my email address. So it's a way to like have a unique, anytime you need a unique email address to sign into something, this is treated as a unique email address, even though it still gets forwarded to your actual email. So a little hack there for you. I'm going to click on next. Oh, I guess I already used that one. So we're going to just change that to 106. All right, and we're going to put in my number. And that's already used for 1-2. So this is a good thing that you all might use in the future, and is a good intro to the admin panel. So as I said, there's two different things that you're going to be interacting with. What we've already gone over was the participant facing view. Now we're looking at the admin facing view. So we're going to go through all this in a little bit more detail later, but if you ever get to that where you need to release a phone, where it says a phone number has already been used, you can come over here to settings and then release phone number. And then you're just going to type in your phone number, hit enter, going to say release, and say okay. So you might do this in Stage a lot. It's very rare that you'll ever actually do this with real participant information, just FYI, but it is useful during your testing. So back here, mobile number, excuse me. I'm going to click on next, and it works. And like I said, when you enter this in, it is going to have this text back verification code. So that's why it's really important that any phone number you put in there needs to be a real phone number and with the participant at the time. There we go, password. And this is very similar to what we already saw, that little Q&A about the test us study. Say, sounds good, I'm in. You'll see the main difference between the app and the website is how the surveys are presented to the participant. So rather than being one page with all of the survey questions, in the mobile app, it's one question at a time. All right, if requested, you're willing to come in, we're gonna say yes. Are you willing to answer short survey questions? We're gonna say yes. Great, eligible. Any questions about the onboarding process so far? Continue. And go start, next, 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 next. And click on that little checkbox. Click finish. All right, and now this participant is ready to join the study. You'll see on the mobile app, it kind of shows you all of the activities in queue that the participant's gonna do. So it's a demographic survey, tobacco history, alcohol use, etc. And so the participant is going to answer those baseline questions. But before we go into the baseline questionnaire, I just want to introduce you to the admin panel. So here we are here. Yours is going to look slightly different than mine. You're not going to have all of the same tabs up here, but more or less it's the exact same. So you'll see I have this mobile test user right here. Looks like Leanne is doing some testing along with us right now. That's great. This might be somebody else with us too. And Dylan, OHSU web. This is the one that we created on the web platform. So let's go through here. If for the study managers, which we said was going to be Laura and Leanne, you will have this admin tab here, and this is where you're going to approve new admins from the OHSU site. So all the different study coordinators, what they will do is they will request an admin account. You will come in here and you'll see, looks like Arjun's doing some testing here. See somebody from your team here, let's say it is Leanne Michael's here, her email, and then requested. What you're gonna do is come in here and click edit. We don't have this here, but there would be a option for clicking approved, and then you would go in and find the OHSU study admin, which we haven't created yet, but we will create that right after this call. Click on it, and then click save, and then that person will be ready to participate in the study. So anyway, that is something, and I can help you out with that later on too as well. Next is the participants tab. So this is really what you're going to be interacting with for the most part. So what we have here, this is the Dylan OHSU web. We're going to click on that name. And in the basic info tab, there's going to be either phone number if they have it, it's going to have their email address, and it's also going to have their DocuSign. So right now we just have one DocuSign. If you need to, for some reason, you can download it, print it out, anything like that. If the participant needs it, a paper copy printed, you can do that there. It's important to note that the participant will have access to any of their informed consents through their Eureka account. So you can let them know that as well. Next up is the activity tab. So this is going to show all the activities that the participant has done. So right now, they are in the eVisit 1, which is their baseline surveys. And you'll see there's that whole big list of the surveys. None of them have been done yet. So once they are done, they get a green check mark next to this, but we haven't done any of those yet. And e-visit is just kind of a nomenclature that we use in Eureka. It's how we group different surveys together that the participant will be doing all at once. So e-visit 1 is all of the baseline surveys. E-visit 2 is really just the device-specific consent that we'll get to soon. And then a couple other little activities just saying like your next steps and just not really even surveys, just telling them what they're going to be doing. And then there's also an e-visit 3, which is a couple quick surveys for the participant about their experience and how to expect the test results. So we'll see that soon. Really, you don't need to know about message health data, notes, or pin messages. But really the bread and butter, what you're gonna be interacting with all the time here is coordinator forms. And this is where you're gonna enter in all the information into the Eureka system. We have these coordinator forms broken down into sections, and really it should be kind of sequential in the order that they will be filled out. So there's an eligibility. This is just an eligibility check. You should already know that this participant is eligible before they even create a Eureka account, but we just need to document that. So that's what that form is for. Some coordinator forms before you do the sample collection, the coordinator forms during the sample collection, and then the results, compensation, and then a few, if applicable, coordinator forms down here that could be filled out but will not be filled out for everyone. And then lastly is this 2322 specific forms. It says if applicable, but since you're doing 2322, you will have to fill out this form. So really it's just this first form right here. And we're gonna get into that in a little bit more detail later, but I just want to give you an intro here. So anyway, let's go back. So this eligibility coordinator form can be filled out anytime prior to the sample collection. It's probably best idea to get this out of the way as quickly as possible. So if they're not eligible, you want to know that before they even do their baseline surveys. So let's go ahead and click on that. We're going to say check, check. Yes, this is the right participant. This is the right coordinator form I want to fill out. I'm going to hit confirm. And this is just a quick eligibility question. So is the participant willing to answer questions about any symptoms and exposure to anyone with COVID in the last 2 weeks? We're going to say yes. Is a participant 18 years or older? We're going to say yes. Is a participant willing and able to give a minimum of 2 samples, nasal swab, and at least 1 saliva sample? We're going to click yes. And it says this participant is eligible. So they need to click yes, or you're going to be doing this. You need to click yes for all 3 of these for them to be eligible. If you were to click no, it's going to tell you that they're ineligible, but the Eureka system is not going to prevent you from moving forward. So you as a coordinator just need to know if, obviously, if a participant is not eligible, then they're not supposed to go forward with the study. But the Eureka system won't actually prevent you from doing that. So just be aware of that. If the participant during their sign up were to click no to any of these questions, that would prevent them from going any further, but this coordinator form does not prevent that from happening. All right, and you'll see after I filled that out, we get a green check mark, says started at, completed at. You'll notice that the time is not the right time. This time that we use here is UTC time, and that's just kind of convention with most tech platforms. They use UTC time because there's no daylight savings time, which we just went through. So it's a way to make sure that any timestamps are going to be consistent, and you don't have to worry about some areas like, I forget, Arizona doesn't observe daylight savings time. So anyway, just don't have to worry about that. But you'll notice that it was, I did it at 8:01, so this is the 1 minute, 15 seconds. So it is the right time, it's just not your time. And then started by me, submitted by me. And once you submit a form, you cannot go back to it. So I can click on this as much as I want. I'll never be able to go back and edit. So it's really important that you make sure that all information is complete and accurate before you submit these forms. Any questions?
Dylan, there's a really good question in the chat from Laura
Sure.
about
Yep.
there's a checklist that has the order.
Is there a checklist that has in order? Yeah, I would say this definitely becomes a lot more obvious once you start doing it a few times. I don't think I'm sure somebody actually probably has made a checklist of all this. I don't think I have one, but somebody probably will.
I'm sorry, what was the checklist for?
For the order that things need to be filled out. So as I was kind of getting to, this is all done in sequential order. So like this is the order that you would do everything in. There's a couple very important aspects of when the coordinator will fill out, like this test assignment coordinator form needs to be filled out at a very specific time point based on where the participant is in their flow. And we're going to get that in a second, but more or less this is the order. But Catherine or anybody else from the UMass team might have a better kind of workflow diagram that they can send out as well. I'm not sure.
Yeah, we have a workflow of exactly how to fill out each one and the order of it.
Yeah. Great. So moving on, we're going to go back to the participant facing view and go through these surveys. So the first is your demographics. So we're going to take this survey. I'm going to go through this pretty quickly right now, just for the sake of time. But when you all are doing your testing, you should click around here, really see, what all these questions are, what they mean. If you're not sure what they mean, it's a good chance the participant might not either, and they're going to ask. So you need to make sure that you fully understand them, and you can bring any questions to us. You'll also notice that certain answers of questions will trigger other questions. So like for this question, for example, it says, none of these describe me. I'd like to consider additional options. Click that, and then another question comes up. If they say, none of these describe me and I want to specify, then there's going to be an open text box for them to enter in information. So that is just something to be aware of. But like I said, I'm going to go through this pretty quickly. I'm going to say they're 5'5", they weigh 150 pounds. What sex were they assigned at birth? We're going to say male. None of those describe me. Sorry, my Siri is listening to me. So are you of Hispanic, Latino, or Spanish origin or ancestry? We're going to say no. I'm going to say I'm a student. Are you currently enrolled full-time? I'm going to say yes. I'm going to say associate's degree. These questions are asking about their insurance. So we are just going to breeze through this real quick, but you might want to read this and check. I'm sure you're going to have plenty of participants who are asking questions about that. Not covered. Provide Indian health service, not covered. Not covered. And then last question is, how confident are you filling out medical forms by yourself? I'm going to say extremely, and click submit. All right, and then the next up is tobacco history. And just to show you what you see in the admin panel, if we go back to this participant's activity and go to their baseline data, you'll see that we have a green check mark to your demographics, and it shows that right now this your tobacco history is being shown to the participant. So back to participant facing view. We're going to say, let's go. Your tobacco history. So this survey is one of two surveys that are completely optional. The participant could just click submit and they can completely bypass this. We're going to say, no, this person does not smoke or use any tobacco products. Click submit. Next up is alcohol use. We're just to show you, I'm just going to hit submit and it'll let us bypass that. All the other surveys will not let you leave any questions blank, but those two are optional. Next up is your COVID-19 experience. Let's go. Have you ever been tested for the novel coronavirus? We're going to say yes. We're going to say it was tested for an active infection. How many weeks ago? We're going to say it was 4 weeks ago. Do you know the results? We're going to say yes, I was negative. In the past week, have you been in close contact with anyone who tested positive for COVID-19? We're going to say no. In the past 48 hours, have you had any of the following? So they will answer if they've had any of these. We're just going to say yes, we had symptoms of fever, chills. Did I seek medical care for these symptoms? No. How many days ago did the first symptoms start? We're going to say 5 days ago. In the past 48 hours, has anyone other than you in your household had any of these symptoms? This is just a list of all the symptoms above. We're going to say no. How many people outside of your household did you interact with while they were within 6 feet? We're going to say 2 people. Approximately how many of those people were wearing masks? We're going to say all 2 of them were. Okay, so next up, these are brand new questions that were just added. As I said before, if the participant were to have chosen the Spanish version earlier, these questions are not yet translated. So hopefully somebody has a little bit of Spanish knowledge, or anyway, we should have that in Spanish very soon. Once it gets approved by the IRB from UMass, we will get those added in. So just something to be aware of until then. Have you ever received a COVID-19 vaccine? We're going to say yes. Which company? We're going to say it was Moderna. How many vaccine doses? We're going to say I've only done 1 so far. So what was the date of your first COVID-19 vaccine? So you're going to click here. Right now, it has this time option here. That is going to be removed hopefully today, but so they're just going to be clicking a date. But we're going to say that it was last Monday I got my first dose, and we're just going to leave the time at 12 a.m. for now. Have you previously received any of the following treatments for COVID-19? We're going to say never. Are you currently? I'm going to say never, and hit submit. All right, next up is medical conditions. Again, I'm going to breeze through this real quick just because I know we're running low on time. I'm just going to say no to all these. It's just a pretty standard medical history questionnaire. Only thing I will point out at the very bottom is these 2 questions are actually optional. So these are 2 that they could choose not to answer and just leave blank. And I'm going to go ahead and do that just to show you. Actually, we'll answer this one because this one has a bunch of triggered questions. It asks about any kind of difficulty they have in everyday life. We're going to leave that one blank because I don't want to answer it, and hit submit. Next up is medications. We're going to say let's go. Here you can add in any medications that the participant would be doing this. The participant could add in any medications they're taking. So let's say they're taking ibuprofen, oral pill, 800 milligram tabs. We're going to say 1 tab every 12 hours. They're currently taking it, hit yes, and then there they go. They can add more, or they can save and continue. If a participant doesn't want to add this information, they don't have to. They could have just hit save and continue without putting any medications in. Next up is shipping address activity. So this is going to bring us to an important question. Does the OHSU team know how they are going to deal with compensation?
Yeah, go ahead, Laura.
Yep. So they're going to be handed a card, it's called a clean card. And we're expecting some of our populations we test not to have a shipping address.
Okay, that is fine. What I would probably recommend doing for anybody who's not putting in a real address is I would tell you to probably add in a known address, like the address of your clinic. in here just so it's very obvious to you that this is not their address. Because if they put in like a fake Portland address, you might see it and think that it's real. And then if you ever needed to ship them a gift card, which sounds like you're handing them all gift cards, but if in the future something did need to be shipped or mailed, like we would want to know that this is not their real address, so it's not going to show up. That makes sense?
Yeah,
It's
so we'll just have like a universal address we use for folks who don't have one or don't want to put one in.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
We would still need the address for the Quest orders.
How have you dealt with like homeless population, Catherine?
We've only had 2 homeless people before, and this is before I joined the team. I'm not sure how that worked. I think we might have put the address of a home that they, like a shelter that they go in and out of. I can double check on that, but it's required, I think, by state for Quest to have the address just for the test orders.
Okay.
Couldn't we use the clinic address for the test orders also?
I will double check with Lisa and Karen to see why exactly we need the address for the Quest orders, and then I'll get back to you guys.
Great.
Okay. Thanks, Catherine, and sorry for adding in some confusion there. I did not know that the coordinators were using that address for Quest as well. Anyway, we will move on forward with that, and hopefully Catherine can follow up later on today with a little bit more detailed information about that. But for now, we're going to put in a fake address because this is all fake information. We're going to say this is in San Francisco and hit submit. You'll notice I'm putting in Oregon and San Francisco. There's no internal validation to make sure that that's correct. So just be aware that when you're trying to put in information that it is all correct. All right, so we're almost done with eVisit 1. Next is the next steps. So this is just letting the participant know what's going to happen next. Let me move this real quick. Has the email address for you all, as well as the phone number for them to contact. They're going to hit submit. And it says, you're all good for now. So right now, the participant can no longer do anything until you as the coordinator gives them access to the next part of the study. So they've done all the baseline surveys. We come in here, check their activity tab. eVisit 1 is complete. We see a green check mark. Click on here, we can see everything is done. The only thing that you see here is there is one red X next to the shipping address activity. And this is just because the Eureka system has a different web shipping address activity and a mobile shipping address activity. So depending on which they enroll on, one of these is going to be X'd out. I know nobody likes to see these red X's. It's kind of jarring, but it is normal that you will always see one red X on one of these two when you're enrolling the participant, but it says completed, so we're all good there. So next up is, so let's say the participant has come into the clinic, they download the app, they went through all those baseline surveys, and now they say, you know, I'm ready to go. So you would go into the admin panel. Why don't we just do this? You come into the admin panel, you'd find their name, click on it here, brings us back to that page. You go to coordinator forms, and you've already done the eligibility check. So next up is the pre-sample collection coordinator forms. And this one right here is probably the most important form that you're going to do, because what it does is it closes eVisit 1. So if they haven't finished their eVisit 1 and you submit this form, they're not going to be able to go back and finish those surveys. So you need to make sure that anytime you fill out this survey, they have completed their first eVisit. And what it will also do is send them their next eVisit, which is eVisit 2, which contains the device-specific consent. So you need to make sure that you do this after they've finished all of their eVisit 1 and before you actually collect any samples, because this is that second consent is where they're actually consenting to sample collection. So Anyway, this form, like I said, very important. Have you checked inclusion exclusion criteria? Yes, I did. Have you confirmed all the baseline surveys have been completed? Yes, eVisit 1 is complete. Do you have a testing assignment numbers for the standard and experimental test that you are ready to enter? Yes. So this is a great question. Does OHSU know what your standard test is going to be?
I think it's the Roche. What was the question?
Do you know which standard test you're gonna be using? Are you gonna be sending these out
Yeah,
to
I think
Quest?
it's Roche Cobas. Yeah.
And do you know, is it the Marlboro site? Because I know
Oh,
Quest has a
I-
few.
I
Yeah.
don't know.
It is. That's what's on our contract.
Okay, great. Then we don't need to add anything. That makes our life easier as well. So what you would do is you come in here and you'd click this 901 Quest Roche Cobas 6800. You'll notice that there is a different one. This is Emory has their own, so you need to make sure that you're doing the right one. So if you're working with Quest Roche Cobas, research testing assignment number. We are only dealing with 2322 right now, so you would click 2322 and hit submit. And like I said, because this is a very important coordinator form, we have a bunch of kind of checks and balances to make sure you're doing this at the right time. Have you ensured that all baseline surveys have been completed? We're going to say yes. We just checked that. And now it is completed. And again, checked off, cannot go back and do anything there. The next one that you would do is the contact attempt or appointment made coordinator form. Now, most of the time you're going to be dealing with participants that you're recruiting right there on the spot. So this form isn't super useful, but if you do ever have somebody enroll at home, then they might need to call and schedule an appointment. So anyway, what is the participant's preferred language? We're just going to say English. Did you make contact with the participant about next steps in the study? And if they're right there with you, you just click yes, in-person appointment is scheduled and hit submit. Oops. There we go. And we're just gonna say right now because they're right here with us. Click done and submit. Great. All right, so let's go back to that activity tab. Like I said, eVisit 1 is now closed and it has opened eVisit 2. Again, you're going to see some red X's, which nobody likes, but that's because we're not doing the 2244 or any of these other devices, so there's nothing to do there. But for the 2322 device, there's 3 activities for them to do. So if we go back to the participant-facing view, which is here, and just click refresh, here are the eVisit 2 activities. So take this survey, excuse me. This is all here, contact information. Does contact information look right? Just want to double check. I'm gonna,
Yep.
all right, great. They're gonna click submit. All right, so this is the most important part. It almost definitely will at least once at your site get skipped, and it's not the end of the world. We can go back and get the consent afterwards, but it's really important you reach out to us immediately so we can send the DocuSign, but hopefully it'll never happen. But so participant's gonna come in here, give permission through DocuSign and hit continue, and you'll notice it says project 2322. So like I said, this is where they're actually consenting to participating in the 2322 research study. So they will click here, get their name and the date, click finish.
Can I ask a quick question? I was going to type it in the chat, but it was getting complicated.
Sure.
Just going back, so it's very interesting that on our end, we have to complete some things in order to push more information to the volunteer, right? It sounds like they can't see certain information until we've done it on our end.
Right.
Is that correct? So it sounds to me like if we're sitting with a volunteer and an iPad, we really need to have a second device at the ready. Is that correct? Or can we do it all from the iPad, like give those permissions, the same iPad that the participant is using?
You could do it from the same iPad.
Okay.
You could do it that way. I would say, Catherine, have you all done that before? I'm just thinking you could have two tabs open like I have here. The only downside of that is if the person were to click on the other tab, they could access PHI, which is kind of
Oh, right.
not great. So I don't know, Catherine, have you ever done that before?
What exactly was it?
If they only had one iPad, let's say, could they be using the same iPad for the participant to be filling in their information, as well as using that, kind of like handing the iPad back and forth, which again is not a great thing to be doing, especially with COVID, like kind of sharing, I
It
think.
sounds to me, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to get organized. So it sounds to me like maybe we should have laptops right there at the ready to do our end.
That would
Yes,
be the much better idea, yeah.
Okay.
'Cause I
we
think
have that too.
yeah, passing it back and
Mhm.
forth seems like it's not the greatest idea. So yeah, I would say having a second either iPad or laptop would be
Got it. Okay. Thanks.
What when we do recruitment, we usually the team members that are doing recruitment will have either their laptop on them with like an air card for service or an iPad for themselves. We don't pass back and forth the iPads with the participants. It only takes a few seconds just to fill out the coordinator forms that's push the extra information or the extra forms that the participants have to fill out. So that's why we usually just keep one iPad to ourselves or our laptop and do it by participant. So if one participant is ready, then we'll push the next step, or if a different participant, we can just go through the admin panel and do it just on one iPad versus just passing it back and forth between ourselves and a participant.
great. Thanks for that clarification, Catherine. Does that all make sense? I think that was Laura who asked the question.
Yes, it does. Thank you.
All right, great. So participant just filled out their second consent. Next up is see you soon. Again, they're probably going to be right there with you. They're just going to click submit. And they're brought back to here now. So there's nothing else for them to do at the moment. Now everything is in the coordinator's hands. So we're going back to the coordinator view. We will see that eVisit 2 is now completed. Green check mark, green check marks here. That's what we want to see. And now we are ready to actually do sample collection now that they've consented to the study. So we come down here to the sample collection coordinator forms. And again, this is all going to be done pretty much in the order that you see it. So click on the first one. Yes, this is the right people. Confirm. And all of this, some of these are going to be NAs. This is going to depend on your workflow. If you do have this information, you should definitely include it. If you don't, then obviously you can't. What is the ordering provider's name? Who is the ordering provider for OHSU? Is it going to be the same person all the time?
Yes, Nancy Elder.
Nancy Elder. I knew that actually. Do you know the NPI already?
Yeah, I don't have it committed to memory. Yeah, that's it exactly.
That's
2142.
yeah, that's the one.
You nailed it.
We're gonna say that's.
Well, that's impressive. I don't even know my NPI. It takes me a while to look it up every time.
I'm sure by the end of this study you will know your NPI by heart, but and the performing facility zip code, that is Catherine, correct me if I'm wrong, but that's going to be Marlboro, the Quest zip code. Is that right?
I'm not sure because it says, oh, for the performing facility, yes, it's 01608.
And an ordering provider, that would be wherever Nancy's clinic is located. So I'm going to click submit. And that one is done. So we ordered the test for Quest. Next is a Quest standard test sample collection coordinator form. And again, I'm going to kind of go through this quickly just so we have time for questions, but please ask any questions if something's not clear. Was sample collection successful? If I were to click no, it would ask why was it not successful? But pretty much all the time it is going to be successful. So I'm going to click yes, and we'll get different questions. So what date and time? We're going to say I'm doing it right now. Test sample collection was performed by study staff. We are doing, is it midterm? Is that right? I believe so. You will know that obviously when you're doing this. Was sample collection location a standard test? We're going to say it was both. Any concerns? If we click no, then we're done. If we click yes, you can say, you know, they got a nosebleed or something like that. If they do have a nosebleed, that's actually an adverse event, and there's a whole nother form for that, but you can put any notes you want about sample collection there. All right, next up is the research test sample collection coordinator form. So this is the actual 2322 sample collection. Enter the name, me, 2322. I'm just gonna say, and was it successful? We're gonna say yes. It is a saliva sample. Saliva sample was performed by the participant. I don't think that the study staff would ever do the saliva sample. At what date and time? We're gonna say is right now. And any concerns? We're gonna say none. Hit submit. And this is the only part where you go a little bit out of order because this is a coordinator form that's specific to 2322. So we want to go down here and you're just gonna have to remember that you're gonna have to do this, and you should because you're collecting these samples. So you'll know like, hey, where do I enter the second one in? And it is right down here. Name of the research staff, again, it is me, 2322, NA. Yes, it was successful. Or there might be people who say no, they don't want to give the second sample because I believe that is optional. So you might want to just go put that in here. Why don't we just say that? And the participant chose not to have a test. And hit submit. That is correct. I'm not giving bad information, right, Catherine? That second saliva sample is an optional sample. I believe so. Anyway, next is compensation promised coordinator form. So we just added this actually yesterday because the UMass team had some discrepancies of what, you know, the participants said they were promised that they would get and versus what they actually got. So we added this form in here just so you can document what you're telling the participant they're going to get. If you're giving them cards on the spot, then that's probably not an issue. It's more for like when gift cards are being mailed out a week later, that there might be some information lost. But either way, you'll have to fill this out. How much compensation was the participant promised? Most often it's gonna be $20. When was the participant promised this? We're gonna say now. Who communicated this? We're gonna say that I told the participant that. We're gonna hit submit. I think I saw some questions pop up. Let me just check the chat real quick. Okay, address is used for contact tracing, but is not mandatory anymore. So if somebody does not want to give their real address or does not have a physical address, I assume we can go with that just using the clinic address then. All right, great. Moving on, the last thing here. So now you know that all the consents are signed, you've collected all of your samples, you've told the participant how much compensation they're going to get. You might have even given them their gift card. Now the participant is ready to leave the clinic. So we're going to fill out this in-person visit complete coordinator form. I'm not going to read through all this right now. Have you confirmed that the site-specific consent has been completed by the participant? If you have not visually confirmed completion of 2 study consents, exit this form and return when consents have been completed. So this is really important because it's your last chance to get the participant to sign the consent if they haven't already done so, which they should have, but it is possible that you did not. So if you get here and you're not 100% sure, you can click the back button, go to their basic info, and check and make sure, yep, we have 2 study consents here, both approved and signed by the participant. So we are good to go. They are ready. We can just go back to that coordinator form, and you'll see that now it's this half filled in circle. That means that you've already started it. It says started by me at this time, but it hasn't been submitted. So you can do this anytime. If you don't have all of the information, don't hit the submit button. You can hit back, and all of the information that you've already entered will be saved for the next time that you come back in. So yes, I just confirmed both study consents have been signed. Has test collection been completed? Yes. Their visit is complete. Submit. Again, we get this pop-up box because this is a very important one. Just making sure you definitely confirm that the device-specific consent was signed. Click yes. And all of those are filled out. And since you're going to be doing compensation at the time of this, you'll probably just fill this out immediately after, which is their compensation log. And here you're just going to say when. So it was today. The study coordinator who sent the compensation clearance form, yes. So it's going to be a plastic gift card. Vendor, we're just going to say Visa. I'm not sure if you're going to be using Visa or not, but you can put in whatever it is. Did the participant receive only 1 gift card? Yes. Serial number. There we go. And submit. All right. So the research result, I forget for 2322, is that more or less an immediate result? I think get back in 20 minutes. So it'll be the same day.
Mm-hmm.
So you'll probably fill this one out next as soon as you get those research results. And name of the operator, it was me. Yes. Do you have the results? Yes. Date and time of results, we're gonna say I got it just now. We're gonna say it was negative. Did you encounter any problems? No, no. This device does not report multiple test sub results. We're gonna say no and hit submit. Next up, you'll probably get your quest results back within 48 hours. So once you get that, you'll come back in here and fill out the result forms. And again, I'm going to go through these a little quickly just so we have time for questions. Here's the results of the test. We're going to say right now, we're going to say it came back as positive because there are going to be different questions that get asked. What was the date and time when the investigator was notified? We're going to say we notified them right now. Was the name? Is it required to report the results to your local public health authority? We're going to say yes. When? We just did it right now. Which research staff member is responsible for investigator notification? We're going to say it was me. All right, standard results again. So this next form, detailed standard results coordinator form, this form you will actually not be filling out because Quest is not giving this information. So you don't have to worry about this form, at least for the time being. If they ever do start giving that information out, then you may need to fill that out, but for now, don't worry about that one. Standard result contact attempt. So this is where you're going to document your attempts at contacting the participant to give them their results. So it was a positive result. Has contact attempt been made? Yes. When was the contact attempt made? We're going to say now. Method, we're going to say we tried by phone. It was me. You should probably be using your last names in this just for better documentation. So let's say this was not a successful contact. What you would do is just click back. And then you come in the next day, you try giving them a call again. You'd come back to this form, confirm. And you'll see all of that information I entered in the day before is still there. And now we're trying a second attempt. Has a second attempt been made? When was it made? We're going to say now. Method, we're going to say phone, and name of research staff was Dylan. And now let's say this one was successful. If so, we're going to scroll down to the bottom. It says do not submit this form until successful contact, but it was successful. Yes, participant has received their results. Great. And now we have a separate form for documenting the successful contact. I know this is a little bit redundant, but it is the way we need to collect this, at least for now. So did you successfully deliver standard test results? Yes. How was the participant notified? Phone. Research staff member, it was me. When? It was just now. And click submit. All right, so that is it there. So that is all the forms that you are going to fill out 100% of the time. Every participant, all of these are going to be filled out. Everything from below, and also this one will also be filled out. But for tiebreakers, protocol deviations, adverse events, these are just going to be if applicable. So if you get discordant results, you're going to have to fill out tiebreaker forms, which are very similar to the standard test forms, but they're just for the tiebreaker. Protocol deviations, if you ever have a protocol deviation, we have 4 different forms for you to fill out there. So hopefully you don't have any more than 4 protocol deviations for one participant. Similarly for adverse events, hopefully there's no more than 4 adverse events. And then coordinator form for corrections. This is something here. It is a kind of emergency last case use scenario. And I'll show you why. So let's say you realize that you entered in some information wrong. As I showed you before, there's no way for you to go back and edit those forms. So that's where this master coordinator form for corrections comes in. This is just a conglomerate of every single coordinator form that we have all put into one. So if you put in information wrong and you had to correct it, you'd have to scroll through here, find that coordinator form, find that question, correct it. And you'd also have to know which questions get triggered off that. So like if it was a positive result versus a negative result, there's different questions that get triggered. So you're going to have to know what those questions are and also answer those questions because they would not have been answered your first time. So hopefully you'll never have to use it. I think in the history of TestUs, this form has only been used maybe 10 times. So hopefully you'll never have to do it. And if you do, you can always ask me for a little bit of help if it's not clear. If you're like, I don't know what questions get triggered off of this question, you can ask me and I can help you out. But hopefully you'll never have to use it. Let's go back. One other thing that I want to show you. So that's pretty much the whole study. The only thing left is since you filled out that in-person visit complete coordinator form, it triggers the last e-visit for the participant. So if we go back to activity, we'll see that now there is this e-visit 3. It's open, but it's not completed yet. And so the 2 activities there are how to expect your results and I've received my results. So we'll go back to the participant facing view. So these surveys will be open to the participant as soon as they leave the clinic, but they won't fill it out until you give them their results. So it's a good idea just to remember to tell them when you deliver the results, say, hey, there's, going to be a couple activities in the Eureka app. Please go log in and complete those.
Dylan, can I ask, so just, and I know we keep beating a dead horse over this, but for participants who did not download the app and we filled it out with them, how does that work in that case?
Yeah, so they could still go log in on their own, even if they didn't download the app, they could do it at home. A lot of the times, especially when you're dealing with like a homeless population, stuff like that, they're not going to have access to do that. So a good way to do that is, especially if you get them on the phone, you can go over here to coordinator proxy data entry. And this is a way for you as the coordinator to fill out forms on behalf of the participant. So at any point, you could have done pretty much any of the activities that the participant did, and you can do it from the admin panel. You shouldn't be really relying on this, but there are certain times if you have like a person who's visually impaired or something like that who can't do this on their own, you might use the coordinator data proxy entry and kind of do it interview style. So that is an option. And for eVisit 3, that might happen a lot, where they will. So one of the most common things is that somebody's going to email you or call you, say, hey, I'm getting text messages and emails every single day, please stop. And the reason is most likely they have not finished this eVisit 3, because we're gonna keep sending them reminders to do this. So if you get that, you can say, hey, just log in, finish eVisit 3. If they're like, I don't wanna do that, then you can say, okay, I will do that on behalf of you. Have you expect how, and then you can come in here and do that. So I'll just show you how to do that real quick. Hit confirm. And how to expect your results. Just tells you how they're going to get it. Hit submit. And then the last one is I have received my results. And if you have given them their results, then you know that this is true. Have you received your results? Yes. Submit. And now the study is 100% done, at least from the participant's point of view. All of their activities are done. eVisit 1, 2, and 3 all completed. No red check marks or no red X's where there shouldn't be. So we are good to go. One thing I want to mention about the coordinator proxy data entry is you'll notice there's a couple things missing. There's a medications activity in eVisit 1 that doesn't show up here. And there's also that consent sign here that doesn't show up. And the reason for that is Eureka treats those, they're different types of activities that cannot be done through coordinator data proxy. And the only way to do that is through what's called handoff. So I'm going to show you how to do that real quick. So let's use my mobile OHSU. So let's say you needed to do eVisit 1 or eVisit 2 on behalf of the participant. You could go in there, do all of those other activities through the coordinator proxy data entry. But for those ones that you could not do, you go over here where it says handoff, make sure you're on the right participant, hit go. And it says, is this you? You say, yes, that's me. And now you can do all these activities on behalf of the participant. Really, this should be used, like if you're using handoff, it would be you're actually physically handing them the device, but in the case like somebody who's visually impaired, you're not going to be doing that, so you would just be doing it on behalf of them. But you'd want to use coordinator data proxy entry for all the other activities. Only the second consent and medications you'd use handoff for. Any questions about that? All right. So I think that is just about everything. Arjun, if there was anything that you think I missed that you think is important, feel free to jump in. Otherwise, let's open it up for questions.
I think you covered everything, Dylan.
All right. Glad to hear it.
You got to see Leanne's chat, right, about the 25?
Okay. I did not know that. That is good to know. As long as that is approved and UMass knows, and I don't see any issues there, but we could go to coordinator forms. So for compensation, I think you're gonna have to put in other for that then. So just be one extra question. Only one, so yeah, say no different amounts. So If it's only one, click on one here. So the amount was 25, and then put in the serial number and then hit submit. So one extra step there for you, but it's not a huge deal. Any other questions? All right. Well, so let's move on to the next part. Everyone on here, have you been added to Slack, and do you generally know how to use Slack? It's basically just an instant messaging system.
Dylan, I was just on it. I'll admit it's a first time use for me, so I have not used it before, and it looks like about half of our team maybe has joined it. So any tips, pointers would be great.
All right. I can just share my screen with you. I'll show you. Give me 1 second. All right, so this is what it looks like. I have a ton of channels. You will not have all of this. You'll probably just have your one channel, which is OHSU Eureka CRCs, and then some direct messages down here, perhaps. But so you'll mainly be working in here. And some important things is you can use the @ button. So, at Dylan, if you want to get my attention, I'll get, pinged really quickly and should be able to answer you very fast. You could also use @here if you want to notify everybody in the channel, and then just type out your question. So one of the main reasons that we use Slack is that when you're doing your training, you're going to run into some problems and questions, and it is almost guaranteed that you're not going to be the only one with that. So rather than fielding 10 different emails for the same question, we can have it all here and everybody can read it and be like, oh, that makes sense. That'll be useful for me when I'm running into that issue tomorrow. So that is one of the great things about Slack. Laura, got your message loud and clear. So the other thing is I already posted here. I'm not sure if any of you have seen the training videos yet, but that is a very useful tool. Soon I'm going to send you a much longer message with all of the useful links, all of the information on how to download the test flight app so you can test this all out. And I will pin that message. And what that means is, you see it says pinned. You can go up here to the view pinned items. It'll show all of the pinned messages. So right now there's only one, but soon there's going to be 4 or 5 pinned messages, and it's going to have all of the relevant information. So most likely if you're not sure about like what's the link I need to use to sign a participant up or something like that, it'll all be here in the pinned messages. So helps keep things organized. Yeah, that's Slack. So as far as training, what we're gonna do, and like I said, I'll send this out in Slack very soon, is everybody who is going to be enrolling participants needs to go through training. And we created a little training exercise of 5 different test users, 3 of which will be made on the web platform, 2 will be made on the mobile platform. And it's kind of just little test case scenarios telling you a little bit of information about a fake participant, as well as the steps that they go through during their test. And we put in some like common errors that usually occur or questions that would come up in those test accounts. So you just read through them carefully and then try and create the account based on that information. There'll be a separate spreadsheet where you can just track your information. Let me see if I can find one here. This is for a different site, but I'll just show you what it looks like. So this is pretty much the message I'm going to send you very soon. It's just going to say OHSU and say UIOS. So it's going to have the recorded session here. So if you want to link back to this, that's there. The link to the admin panel, you'll have your link for the participant to enroll, and then the training exercise, and then this is going to be the the training tracker. So you'll use this and enter in your name here, and then keep track of all of your test users. So you just put in the Eureka ID number. Was it completed? Yes. And then we can kind of check that. And once you're done with all 5 users, let us know. We can go in and check, make sure everything's done properly. If there are any issues, which most likely there's going to be an issue or two, we'll find that. And if it's a very small issue, we might just tell you, hey, go in and correct this real quick. If it's a bigger issue, like a missing consent or something, a larger protocol deviation like that, we might have you redo that participant. But once all 5 of your test users are completed, we will give you the okay, and you can, you're kind of good to go. Now, once all the coordinators have, I just got a message. How much time should we set aside for 5 test users? That's a good question. So, you know, I have been using the platform for a while, so I can get through it very quickly, especially your first couple test users. I don't know, Arjun, you're a little bit newer. How long would you say? About 30 minutes per test user?
Yeah, I would say that is pretty accurate in the beginning. It's definitely going to go down as you get through them, for sure. But
So,
initially, it's like some growing pains.
Yeah, so your first couple users are, you know,
Mhm.
you're going to be wanting to read those questions very carefully and see like what, if you click something a certain way, what's going to happen. So the first few are going to take a little bit longer. Once you kind of know what the questions are, I would say, yeah, 2 to 3 hours. Yeah, it seems about right. And you don't have to do them all at once. You know, you can do 1 or 2 today, come back tomorrow, do a couple more. So yeah, great question.
And this is Leanne. Are we supposed to have a follow-up meeting after we've done those, just to kind of, I thought that was our next step.
Yep, that is the next step. So once all of the coordinators have completed their 5 test users, the study manager, who I think will either be Laura or Leanne, one of you two, will lead us through pretty much what I just did today, but you will do it on your own. It'll be quicker because we're not going to be explaining so much. You'll just very quickly share your screen like I did, have the admin panel open as well as the participant facing view, and just show us how to enroll a participant from start to finish. And that'll probably take about 45 minutes to go through that. So we'll set that meeting up once you all are pretty close to being done with your test users. And then once that proficiency call is done, then we will approve you for the production site. We'll give you all those links, get you set up on the admin panel. And yeah, that will be, then you'll be ready to enroll real participants. So that's about it. First thing for you all to do is once I send out that message to you, you will log into the admin panel. You're going to request an admin account. Let me know on the Slack channel once you've done that, because I don't automatically get notified. So you just need to let me know when it's there. I'll go in and approve Leanne and Laura first as the study manager, and then they will be able to approve everyone else on the team. So yeah, that's pretty much it. We got 4 minutes to spare. Any last questions? It sounds like we are good. So keep an eye out for Slack. If you're not on Slack, please send me an email, let me know, and I will add you immediately. And keep an eye out for that message. It should be coming out within the next 30 minutes and you're be ready to start testing.
Thanks, Dylan.
All right, you're welcome. Sorry, looks like there might be one more chat question. Oh, just thank yous. All right, great.
Thank you so much. This is so
Bye.
helpful.
All right, you're welcome. And please don't hesitate. Any questions you have, reach out to us. We're here 24/7. You know, maybe won't always be answering questions at 3 a.m. as quickly as possible, but we'll answer it as soon as we get on in the morning. So please don't hesitate to reach out anytime. All right. Have a great day, everybody.
Bye.
Bye. All right. Everything good, Arjun?